Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Not Another Yoga Class podcast and LinkedIn Live series. We have a guest here today, really special guest. We've got Chris Howe, your results coach. And today we're going to talk about a subject which is quite personal to me, which is alcohol use. Welcome, Chris.
How are you? You all right?
Yeah, good, mate. So we're going to talk about alcohol use specifically in organizations and how organizations potentially don't realize the effect that encouraging alcohol use is having on their people, and maybe some of the steps that they can take to reduce alcohol use in their company. So first I want to talk about what is it, what sort of scenarios do we have where organizations are possibly encouraging alcohol use, and then we'll talk about why that's a problem.
I think it's really my background, recruitment, so come from a sort of a sales industry. Really common that you've got anything that is awards biased for staff, big award ceremonies, bags of alcohol, often a free bar, any celebrations, so just secured a big piece of business, big deal, let's go and celebrate. Well, we'll have food and we'll have some alcohol, maybe that's a free bar. Beers in the fridge for an early knock off on a Friday, or beers after work on a Friday. There's so much in the corporate world that will revolve around alcohol. But client entertainment, typically that will be, well, we'll take them out to the races or the football or for food, and then we'll have some drinks. And of course, for clients, that'll be fully funded as well. So culturally, from a society perspective, and purely from a very sophisticated and savvy marketing perspective, alcohol is just completely normalized in day-to-day life, but specifically in business, so.
I see that. I guess the question then is that a problem? Like, how does that kind of manifest itself within an organization? What sort of things can they experience that come off the back of that?
This is interesting. So where is the problem? Where's the line where it becomes a problem? And that line will differ in different businesses. But there's a really catchy slogan for gambling addiction that was used, and I think it's quite relevant. It's when the fun stops, stop. And I think it's applicable to any form of addiction, and I think it's quite applicable to alcohol. Most people associate alcohol with fun, alcohol with socializing, alcohol with all the things that we've just described in business. But ultimately, when it becomes a problem is, if you can see that it's becoming a habit that is too regularly being done. So if it's somebody that's maybe it's every weekend, it's most nights, it's every time they go out, it's every staff party, it's every piece of client entertainment, there's beer involved, then those are some of the warning signs you need to look for. I think also when it comes to business specifically, and you're starting to then look at outputs and productivity. I mean, I've got someone that I know very well that had a celebratory evening out on a Thursday night for a massive contract win, multiple millions pounds worth of contract win. So the commercial team that worked on this opportunity all went out for a treat. It was a free bar. And everybody who they joined one Zoom, I think the following day, everybody had written off for the day. And so therefore you've got a team of, I think there's 13, 14 people in this team that all of a sudden are written off for the day. So the question you've got to ask yourself as a business leader, is that the sort of behavior, and is that the type of culture that I want to create? Because ultimately, and this is the fact, regular use of alcohol over a sustained period of time will have a negative impact on your performance in business. And that counts for, so the leader, the steerer of the ship, but of course then that cascades down to the broader teams, and by default it's going to have a significant impact on productivity, in my opinion.
No, I'd see that. I guess my question is, what about on the individual level? Because I've been on a bit of a journey with alcohol. I would consider myself a heavy drinker until about 3 years ago. And if we're really drilling down here into the effects of alcohol, how much of an effect does a small amount of alcohol have? Is that something that we need to consider?
So if we look at, the World Health Organization quite recently, so 2024, have published a new report that they're stating that there is no safe limit to alcohol consumption, nothing. So that's quite interesting, because there's a lot of people that I know and are out there that will They do drink every now and again. They've got complete control. They can take it or leave it, and they are happy to not be drinking alcohol. That's quite important. If you're okay for weeks and months, you're happy to not be drinking alcohol, then I think you can suggest to yourself that actually I've got a healthy balance. If there's never happiness without alcohol, or alcohol features weekly, for example, very common in the UK specifically would be weekend binge drinking. I don't drink in a week, but then when it comes to the weekend, I'm going to have a skinful and get myself in. A lot of people put themselves in a bit of a state. I don't believe that that's a healthy relationship with alcohol, because if you're going to have a high volume of alcohol, that's sticking around in your system for days. It'll impact your sleep, it'll impact your energy levels, it'll impact your motivation, your morale, your productivity, it'll impact relationships, you'll be snappy, ratty, all of these negative things that when you shift alcohol out of the way, even if that's going to be just to start with, just have a tactical break for 30 days, because on that amount of time, you'll clear the system, you'll start to feel some of the benefits, and that will start to really, it's an eye-opener, to be honest, for a lot of people. A lot of people I work with, it becomes an eye-opener, and they get to 30 days and thinking, do you know what, I'm just going to stretch it to 45 to see what else this whole experience brings. And of course, when you flip the other side, it's very easy to keep chipping away at the negatives with alcohol, but when you flip the other side and you are more productive, you've got more energy, you're more present with your family and your children and your kids, you look better, and people are starting to say that you look better, you're starting to lose weight, you're more active, you can get to the gym, and you've got the motivation to do some of the hard stuff at work. Challenges in business become opportunities, and you thrive on those sort of things instead of getting all stressed and anxious about it, and your stress and anxiety levels start to drop. When you start to then get a grip of some of these benefits, that's when I think you can draw some real conclusions on an individual level on what does my relationship look like going forward. I'm not an out and out sober coach. I coach people in alcohol free. We're going to get rid of it, or alcohol control. We're going to work out how you're going to live with it going forward. There's a lot of people out there that will say, well, there's no safe limit. The World Health Organization said there's no safe limit. So, none is the right answer. But for some people, they do want to choose to drink in positive environments, that little celebration or the wedding or the birthday or whatever it's going to be. But you can only do that when you've done the work to really feel the benefits, but then from that positive point, be able to look back at what was happening when you were drinking regularly, because that's when you'll see the real picture. You can't do that whilst you're drinking regularly. Hopefully that makes sense.
100%, because I've been through this exact journey, right? I don't think anyone could have got me to go cold turkey. It just never would have happened. It had to be a gradual weaning and transitioning to a lifestyle where it wasn't as important as it used to be. And it's only now, I guess, that I can really look at it objectively and think, 2 to 3 weeks with no alcohol in your system is like a drug. Sleep improves drastically. Mood goes through the roof. I've got more energy than I've ever experienced. My gym sessions are wild, right? I'm a better person for absolutely everybody. And before it's either kind of a drunk is a problem, not drunk is fine. Now I realize that I may be not drunk, but if I've drunk within the last 3 to 5 days, I'm still getting to the place that I now feel right now.
Yes.
And I'm kind of thinking about that as potentially as a senior leader who's going through that same process. He's worked with potentially someone like yourself, and he's gone, do you know what? There's an other side to this. There's a better place that me and my company could be in. How do I now transition them, this team who have experienced, being rewarded with alcohol or doing social days out? How do I now transition this team over to something else? And what does that else look like?
Do you know, this is probably one of the harder parts, because actually socializing sober, when all you know is that when I go and do something social, I do it with a drink, which is quite normal in the UK. It's quite a hard transition to make. But I think this is why I choose to work with senior leaders and business owners, because I think if I can impact the top, then that's where we can have a significant ripple effect through the culture and the teams that they look after. I think it starts with the fact that when the leader is actually going through a process of addressing a poor relationship with alcohol, most of their team have probably got a bit of an idea where they've come from. They've probably seen them, hammered at a works, doing whatever else.
Yeah.
Every time that I include myself and every other person I know who has done the work with alcohol has been an inspiration to other people. Not necessarily everybody, because not everyone gets this still. The tide is still turning, and that's absolutely fine, But you'll find that if people in their heart of hearts are thinking to themselves, I think I'm probably drinking a little bit too much, and the things that the leader is telling me I can sort of latch onto and associate to, it sort of creates a little bit of curiosity. And I actually see that the leader, if this is the scenario we're talking about here, actually inspires others to say, do you know what, I'm gonna give this a bit of a go. Follow the lead. That's the whole idea as a leader. You want people to follow your lead and tread in your footsteps. And I think the same thing goes with alcohol. Is you are going to inspire some people. Some people won't get it. Some people won't want to get it because actually there is a problem there and they don't want to acknowledge it. And some people will be sort of fine. But I'm working with a client right now, and only this week he said to me, something that I've questioned with my business partner is, how do you have fun without alcohol? And when he told me this, I was taken aback, if I'm honest, because I didn't really think that he thought like that until he shared that statement. And I was like, wow. And this is really common, that everybody sort of thinks, well, if you do something socially, it's got to involve alcohol. And I think that comment in itself was really interesting. So the work that we're doing at the moment is we're now, whilst he's on his tactical break, which he started, we're now looking at, okay, well, let's go and force ourselves into social situations that are going to enable me to A, be in a bar and not drink and see how that experience changes, and B, go and do something different. There is so much stuff out there to do, from a team building, having a laugh, fun perspective that doesn't need to have a load of booze. Get yourself walking up a bloody mountain or a hill or kayaking. Whatever it's going to be. There are lots of other options, and the only way that you're going to shift the tide, when you look at it from a corporate perspective, you've just got to start scheduling other activities that don't necessarily always revolve around alcohol. And there's something else to think here, and there's a flip side to this. I'm just thinking now, is that if all that you do when it comes to corporate entertainment and entertainment of your staff is do everything around alcohol, what if there's somebody in that team that has got a genuine problem with alcohol? They may have grown up with alcoholic parents and have seen the problems that it's caused, and maybe don't want to drink alcohol. I think there's a risk that you can actually alienate people that have grown up with a problem, or potentially have got a problem themselves, So I think there's a duty of care nowadays, as this tide's turning and more people are looking at going alcohol free, or at least giving it a go, that you've got to consider that there's highly likely going to be people in your team that are in that space where they want to and potentially really need to, chop ties with alcohol.
100%, mate. I think you've hit the nail on the head there with that last bit as well, because you are alienating some people from the team. It's not necessarily a cohesive thing unless you are 100% sure that everyone wants to be part of it. So you've kind of touched on what you do with senior leaders. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Well, yeah, look, I've got an opportunity to talk about what I'm up to. So ex-recruitment director, moved into coaching. This is a huge passion for me. To my backstory, I used to drink too much, and I was a senior guy in business, and the two didn't go very well together at all. I choose to work with me from 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. Business leader, business owner, someone that may have a challenge with alcohol and knows they've got to address that, but also if that's in a good place, which some of my clients come to and they've already done that, I've been sober for 4 years thing, then we're looking at lifestyle, mindset, and then business coaching as well. So I try and look at the two things. Let's get you as a leader and as a business person in a fit state personally and in your home life. And I strongly believe this, if you've got that locked down and you've got a happy home life and everything outside of work's good, well, that's when we can have a real influence in business and start really ripping up trees, whatever ripping up trees looks like for each individual. So all my work one-to-one, thoroughly enjoy it, and job satisfaction comes, Jamie, from seeing people getting results and seeing people changing, and the ones that do it are the high performers, and the ones that are committed and ready to change, and they're the ones that get the best results, which is great.
Well, I'm grateful as well, mate, because someone like yourself who's changing people's perception of culture at the top is going to have a massive difference for me when I bring a program like Reach Us in. So I appreciate you, fella. Look, thanks so much for jumping on this call today.
Good man. Enjoyed it. Cheers, Jamie.